Welcome to growthtofreedom.com, the show that brings you inspiration, transformation, and leadership. We're helping you connect the dots, see the blind spots, and get unstuck so you can go out and generate more leads, more sales, more profits. More importantly, so you can go out and have a bigger reach, a bigger impact, and make a bigger contribution. We're going to talk about strategies to help you be more productive, be a better you, whether it's personally, professionally, or building your business. And there's a lot we're going to squeeze into a short window of time, but essentially what I want to do is I want to take you behind the curtain into my world, share with you what I do to help refine myself. Not that I've figured any of this stuff out, but some of the strategies I've discovered, I've learned, I've adapted from some of the top coaches in the world, some of the top mentors in the world, top leaders in the world that have allowed me to grow personally, professionally, and I'd like to share them with you as well. And before we get started, I had some people email in and say, Dan, I got a chance to listen to the show with your kids, and wow, you have a 10 and 8-year-old, your son's talking about being a billionaire, your daughter's talking about the Kuschell values, you're talking about the exercise you guys do at dinner. It was just really touching to hear how personal and how young your kids are and really taking to the lessons that you're sharing with them. And you know what? Like Rick and Liz Tom, if you haven't gotten a chance to listen to that episode, I'd encourage you to go check it out at growthtofreedom.com/43, growthtofreedom.com/43. It's like, when people ask me, well, Dan, what is it you do? My number one role, my number one focus, the number one priority to me is being a dad and being a great leader to my kids. And, as I was at lunch yesterday with a good friend of mine, Jerry, and my wife, T, and we were talking about, the ability to lead. Why I even created this show was to essentially create a footprint, a thumbprint, not to talk about principles with my kids, but to show them the principles, right? That it's just going to be a part of their DNA when it's all said and done, when they're old enough to really get it and understand it. What I mean by that is this. Have you ever been in a place in time where you had your family, you had an uncle, an aunt who said, it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? That the key to success is networking, right? We've all heard these principles, but it was almost like we were at an arm's length away from really getting it. What does that really mean? And for me, I felt that way too. I grew up in the inner city of Detroit. I've shared my story in the past. At times we were on welfare. I thought sports would be the way out. That didn't quite work out the exact way, although I played college ball, semi-pro. I coached college ball for a bit. At the end of the day, I found that networking is the key. It's who you know, who you connect with, who you surround yourself with ultimately determines your destiny, my destiny, right? If you want to go up, grow that circle of influence, right? Grow that circle of influence to hang around the best, smartest people in your industry, in the things you have an interest in, right? And that isn't the easiest thing to do unless you have a plan or a blueprint to be able to do it. So I created the show where I could show my kids that I'm interviewing the smartest thought leaders in the world, that I'm hanging around some of the smartest leaders in the world. And guess what? As they grow up and they've got a chance to meet these people, as they've gotten a chance to hear about these, I want them ideally to know that they can go do the same thing, that anyone and everyone is approachable from the top of the world all the way down, right? And not in theory, but in practicality. And that's really one of the main reasons that I bring this show to you, because I want to instill that upon you, right? Because imagine what would happen for you if you leveraged yourself up. And you sat down today and you said, who are the 5 people in my area, in my niche, in my industry, in the world that if I met them and I got a chance to work directly with them or have a chance to have an influence on them, that it would transform my life. And you thought of who those 5 people are, and you really wrote them down. And then you went at it. It's called Genius Networking. Joe Polish created this exercise, part of Genius Network. I talk a lot about Genius Network. And it's more about what you do for them than what they do for you. But you sat down and you said, okay, for example, Matt in our studio, who's our video engineer here, If he said, and he had one of the people, James Cameron, for example, right? Or he put George Lucas. If you haven't seen Star Wars, fantastic movie. My kids love it. We went and saw it together. My kids want to see it again. We actually did the whole marathon. We did series all the way through all 6 movies leading up to this new one. And it just had a blast. But anyway, it became a family affair. But imagine Matt said, I want to meet George Lucas, right? The guy's an icon. Well, if he was going to meet George Lucas, if he takes the approach, what can George Lucas do for me? Well, that's going to get him so far, and it's better than not having George Lucas on the target list, so to speak. But on the other hand, if he thought to himself, what could I find out or what could I provide George Lucas, right? How could I help George Lucas?
Thanks for listening to this episode of GrowthToFreedom.com. Are you struggling to get a steady flow of new clients every day? Or maybe hit a plateau or hit a wall in growing your business? Well, let's help you solve this problem today. Let's review your business and have a conversation. You can do that for free today at breakthroughstrategycall.com. That's breakthroughstrategycall.com. In addition, if you're looking for a simple way to implement some of what we've been talking about in today's episode, then I want to encourage you to get our free small business toolkit. You can get that at activate.breakthrough3x.com. That's activate.breakthrough3x.com. If you'd like access to the special resources and all the show notes for this special episode, make sure to visit growthtofreedom.com.